Hi everyone, this is meteorologist Joel Curtis with your Alaska Weather TV show for Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. Starting out today with today's satellite loop, we can see a low pressure system is wound up north of Bethel along the southwest coast there. Also, we have a system now forming up over near Shemya with a frontal system out ahead of it. Also, we have a weak system, looks like about a cold front moving in through the Chukchi, but very low clouds with the precipitation there. And we're watching our system wrap up in the out in the Aleutians. So for today's weather, we have a 988 millibar low has formed. Not too far from Amchitka. The system has a nice front wrapped around it, including a little bit of cold air that's gotten into that system, but it's not a very strong one. We also have a low in the area of just south of Norton Sound, 996 millibars. A little bit of a trough moving across the Gulf with lots and lots of showers out over the Gulf, as you can see in the satellite imagery behind the precipitation there. Also, we have a 993 millibar low up in the Northwest Territories. And then for tonight's weather, again, that system by very, very early tomorrow morning will be a drop into 987 millibars. It's still southwest of the Pribilofs. Nice front wrapped around that system. Also the low over Norton Sound, 1001 millibars. And then high pressure has built south of the Gulf up to 1027 millibars. And that system keeps pushing off in the Northwest Territories well to the east. The very, very weak cold front moving across the North Slope and down through Kotzebue Sound. Then for Wednesday's weather, we have a 99 millibar low. It's just weakened ever so slightly, but the triple point on the front where the cold air meets the warm air is right about at Sand Point or so. Some heavier rain out ahead of that system, moving into Kodiak Island and southern Kenai Peninsula, and then eventually moving into the central Gulf. Now that high well south of Haida Gwaii has weakened to 1026 millibars, and the front that was over the North Slope down has dropped into Norton Sound and is now become a trough line, and that system continues to push out east well over in Canada. And then for Thursday's weather, the low has reformed now down to 988 millibars off of Kodiak Island. Good frontal system wrapped around it with a secondary low now formed at 993 millibars, and that's southwest of Haida Gwaii. Some heavier rain out ahead of this system, snow over the mountains, snow over the Brooks Range with a couple of weak troughs moving through the state. And then, as you can see, there's also some high-pressure ridging building in over the Bering Sea as the next system approaches well to the southwest. So looking at our low temperatures Wednesday morning, well into the 40s for southeast Alaska, 35 for Glen Allen, also in the 40s for much of south central, including 46 for Anchorage and 44 down at Kodiak. For our high temperatures Wednesday afternoon, temperatures all across the board in the 50s, and some up into the mid-50s or so. 58 for Prince of Wales Island there, 53 for Yakutat, and 53 for Kodiak. Then as we move for our low temperatures for Thursday morning, temperatures again in the 40s in southeast Alaska, dropping a little bit down to 36 into the Glen Allen area. Also in the 40s for South Central and up to 48 for Kodiak Island. And then our high temperatures Thursday afternoon, temperatures again in the mid 50s to upper 50s for Southeast Alaska. As we move over to South Central, again in the mid 50s or so, everybody has hit at least the 50-degree mark. And then for our low temperatures Wednesday morning for the northern sections of Alaska, in the mid 30s generally across the North Slope. As you get down to the Brooks Range, again mid 30s or so, 40s as you get to Kotzebue, and then 41 for Nome. And then as you get further south, down to 32 for Fairbanks, and you might even see below freezing as you get a little bit south of Fairbanks up against the Alaska Range and calm winds. And then for high temperatures Wednesday afternoon, we've got temperatures in the 40s along the North Slope. Temperatures rising up into the 50s. Looks like a 57 for Fort Yukon, 58 for Fairbanks, and then dropping off to the 50s and the upper 40s as you get further west. And then low temperatures on Thursday morning, temperatures well down in the 30s for the North Slope, including below freezing in a few spots. As you get a little bit further south, temperatures in the mid 30s or so. And then a few odds and ends below freezing, but generally temperatures in the mid 30s. And then as you get down toward Unalakleet, 40 degrees, and for Emonic, 41. And then for our high temperatures Thursday afternoon, temperatures in the mid 30s along the North Slope, but 40s and 50s as all across the central interior, up to 55 down to McGrath, 56 for Fairbanks, and then staying a little bit cooler as we get out on the west coast. And then for southwestern Alaska, our low temperatures Wednesday morning, seeing temperatures in the 40s. All across the board, except as you get further out along the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians, around 50 or so, and then 45 for the Pribilofs. And then for Wednesday afternoon, high temperatures in the 50s and upper 40s all across the board, but almost approaching 60 as we get down to Dutch Harbor with a high of 57 there. And then for our low temperatures Thursday morning, again in the 40s for almost everywhere. A couple of readings almost touching 50, 50 for Coal Bay or so. And then for our high temperatures Thursday afternoon, temperatures in the 50s again all across the board, except for a couple of readings of 40s as you get a little bit further north. So looking at our 6 to 10 day outlook for September 20th to the 24th. Below normal temperatures, especially along the North Slope and up in the Brooks Range area, that's a 60% probability of below normal temperatures. For South Central, also looking a little bit below normal temperatures, a little bit above temperatures in the Aleutians as weather systems come up, but most of the state is hanging below normal temperatures. And then looking at our precipitation for the 20th to the 24th, we can see below normal temperatures in the northwestern sections of the state and above normal precipitation as we get along the eastern border and then down into southeast Alaska. And then looking at our 8 to 10 day outlook for the 22nd through the 28th of September, again, below normal temperatures predominate for most of the state. And thanks to our friends over there at the Climate Prediction Center. Temperatures at least a 50% probability of well below normal. Also looking down at southeast Alaska, still below normal. Again, the Aleutians a little bit above normal chance there. And then as we move over to our precipitation for that period in our outlook, below normal precipitation for almost the entire northern section of the state. Focus with a little bit around the Noatak region there, particularly below normal precipitation. And then normal precipitation as we go out the Aleutians and then across the middle portion of the state, and then above normal precipitation with onshore flow into southeast Alaska and south central, including Prince William Sound and the Yakutat area. Well, that's all we have, and thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hi everyone, and now for your aviation weather. Starting out with flying weather Wednesday morning, extensive IFR all along the North Slope, down in the Brooks Range. Also Kotzebue Sound down along the west coast. Some into the western and interior, as well as the Alaska Peninsula, southern Kodiak Island, much of the Bering Sea, and especially the western Aleutians as that system approaches. Also an area of IFR for the Misty Fjords area of the southeast panhandle. As we get into Wednesday afternoon, still some IFR along the central North Slope down into Kotzebue Sound, also along the west coast, much of the Bering Sea, including the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, all the way up to Kodiak Island, touching into Prince William Sound and Lower Cook Inlet. Then on Thursday morning, we've got extensive IFR of the Gulf Coast region, including Prince William Sound, northern South Central, as well as Kodiak Island, much of the Alaska Peninsula, and the central Bering Sea, including the Pribilost, also a little bit into the southwest interior, and all the way up the west coast, including Norton and Kotzebue Sounds, as well as the North Slope. And then on Thursday afternoon, again, much of the North Slope and IFR, some into the western interior, also along St. Lawrence Island, the western Alaska Range, and touching Kodiak Island into Prince William Sound, and then over in the Gulf. As we get to our pass conditions on Wednesday, Anatovik Pass, IFR becoming marginal VFR. For Adigan, IFR becoming VFR. For Lake Clark, marginal VFR, IFR on the western entrance sides. Afternoon turbulence for Rainy Pass, including IFR becoming marginal VFR. Windy Pass, marginal VFR to VFR. Isabel Pass, marginal VFR to VFR. The Mentasta Pass, marginal VFR to VFR. Afternoon turbulence for Tahiti Pass, including marginal VFR to VFR. Portage Pass, afternoon turbulence, marginal VFR all day. Chilkoot and White Pass, a marginal VFR in the morning, become VFR in the afternoon. For freezing levels, pretty complex. The lowest freezing levels aloft are over the central portion and northern portions of the state, out into the western Bering Sea. Also, we have a band of surface lower freezing level into the Chukchi and Beaufort Sea, as well as the Wrangell St. Elias Mountains. And then the freezing levels rise up quite a bit south of the Aleutians and south of Haida Gwaii. For icing on Wednesday, we've got some isolated moderate all along the North Slope into the Chukchi Sea, below is between 6,000 and 12,000 feet. Some areas of considerable moderate as that system approaches from the Bering Sea, between 6,000 and 12,000 feet, including the southern Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, western Alaska Range, and also into Bristol Bay. And then one area of icing for the far eastern part of the Panhandle. Then for our jet stream, quite a strong jet stream south of the Aleutians, up to 155 knots. Also one branch over south central westerlies about 90 knots, and then comes becoming northwesterlies around 85 to 95 knots over the Panhandle. For our 9,000 foot winds on Wednesday, upper level low south of the Pribilost, around 50 knots out south of the Aleutians and out into the Gulf, but not a whole lot of wind over most of Alaska, including about 25 knots westerlies or so up along the Chukchi Sea, and about 25 knots in south central. For a 3,000 foot winds on Wednesday, again, that upper level low south of the Pribilost there, it's got a band of about anywhere from 40 to 50 knots of wind around it, especially south of the Aleutians. And then there's one area of 60 knots becoming southerlies south of Kodiak Island, but most of that wind is out in the Gulf. Some easterlies over the Lake Clark and Lake Iliamna area. For our turbulence on Wednesday, we've got below 4,000 feet for much of Cook Inlet. It's considerable moderate down into Kodiak Island, and then also a bit for the Alaska Panhandle below 4,000 feet, as well as the Aleutians below 3,000 feet. So fly safe out there. Be sure and file a flight plan, and thanks for listening in on our Alaska weather aviation section.
Hello, I'm a GOES-R series weather satellite orbiting 22,000 miles above Earth. I can see a lot of cool stuff from up here, and I take pictures of it with my spiffy camera that has 16 different settings. I have such good eyesight, I can see clouds, snow, smoke, smog, and ash, so I can warn you about dangerous conditions and help you avoid them. When storms are brewing, I watch them closely and help with hurricane, tornado, and flood warnings to help keep you safe. And my lightning mapper tracks lightning strikes way up in the sky, even through dark, dense clouds. I also help with search and rescue missions. I listen for distress signals from emergency beacons and tell search and rescue teams just where to find people who need help. But even when I'm keeping a close eye on Earth, I'm monitoring weather out here in space, too. I watch the sun for big bursts of energy, which send waves of radiation toward Earth that can affect power grids, block communication with planes, cause errors in GPS, and damage satellites. Space weather is also very dangerous for astronauts working outside the International Space Station. I warn them so they can get inside where they'll be safe. So the next time you watch a weather report or check your phone for the forecast, remember, that's me. So look to the sky and wave. I'll be here. Whoa! Things are looking pretty bad down there. But don't worry. I'm going to give weather forecasters a heads up and help you stay safe. I'm a GOZAR series weather satellite, and one of my jobs is to keep an eye on Earth's weather as I orbit above. But I'm 22,000 miles above Earth. How does your local weather forecaster know what I see all the way up here? First, I have to figure out what's going on. I point my special camera at the Earth and take pictures of the clouds I see below. My pictures show where the clouds are, but I also take lots of other notes about the clouds. For example, how high they reach into the atmosphere, how much rain they might cause, and when a severe storm may be forming. But I can't keep all of this information to myself. I have to share it with weather forecasters down on Earth. A big antenna is waiting for my call. Since I'm a satellite, I send my pictures and notes in a computer language of ones and zeros. Luckily, the antenna speaks my language. Computers connected to the antenna organize my notes and combine all of the pictures and cloud information and translate them into weather maps. They send a version of the maps back up to me. I'll hold on to these for later. Another copy of the maps is split into smaller pieces. This helps the maps move faster from one place to another. The map pieces are then sent for processing before being sent back up in the sky to a communication satellite. From there, the maps are picked up by antennas at the National Weather Service forecast offices in each region. There are more than 100 offices. I also take the maps that I received and send them out to companies that specialize in making the maps more colorful and better for viewing on TVs and computers. The colorful maps and the maps from the forecast offices then go to your local weather forecaster. The forecaster combines the information from these maps with lots of other information, like model forecast data and radar data, to make predictions about the upcoming weather in your area. And that's how I help you find out if bad weather is going to ruin your afternoon plans. You're welcome. Soon it will be my time to shine. In outer space. I'm the GOES-R satellite. That stands for Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellite. And the R stands for my order in this series of weather satellites. Like my older siblings before me, I'll do a lot for watching weather, but I'm pretty special because I have a lot of new gadgets. I'm originally from Colorado, but my journey to space has a few stops along the way. I'll be shipped in a very special satellite shipping container to Kennedy Space Center. Moving me around is not easy. I'm over 18 feet wide and weigh 6,000 pounds. And then things get really exciting. I get loaded onto an Atlas V541 launch vehicle. A big rocket! Woo! After Atlas and I blast off together, my compartment separates from the launch vehicle and I continue to climb higher and higher. Then I break away completely and unfurl my solar panel and antenna. After that, I have to use my thrusters to get into just the right position, 22,000 miles above the ground and traveling 1.9 miles per second to keep up with Earth's rotation. And then I can officially start my job along with my fellow GOES sisters, where I take advanced pictures for more accurate weather forecasts, map lightning in real time, and improve the monitoring of the sun's activity. It's going to be so awesome! I can't wait!
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
And now for your marine forecast. Starting out with today's sea ice edge, not a whole lot of change from the last couple of days. Plenty of open water for the Beaufort Sea and the Chukchi Sea. Looking at Wednesday's marine forecast, some onshore flow, westerlies around 20 knots or so, and the offshore waters reducing to about 10 out of the southwest as you get further north, and on the inside waters 10 to 15 knots, seas up to 3 feet. And then for Thursday's marine forecast, as that system really approaches, gale force 35 southeasterly, seas 13 feet on the outside, down to 30 feet as you get further south, and on the inside waters 10 to 20 knots and seas up to 4 feet. For Wednesday's marine forecast, south central, southwesterlies 10 to 15 knots or so on the outside, but southeasterlies 25 knots for the Kennedy entrance area, and 20 knots for Cook Inlet, seas up to 6 feet and even up to 7 feet on the outside. For Thursday's marine forecast, now we see that system has really moved in. Gale force easterlies, 35 knots, dropping down to about 25 knots as you get near Kennedy entrance. But Cook Inlet, look at that, 30 to 35 knots and seas up to 14 feet on the south end. For Wednesday's marine forecast for the Alaska Peninsula, southeasterlies gale force 30 knots, seas up to 10 feet on the outside, Chillicothe Strait, easterlies 25, seas 5 feet. And then on the Bering Sea side for Bristol Bay, 25 knots, seas 5 feet. And down off of Coal Bay, southeasterlies 25, seas 6 feet. For Thursday's marine forecast, Alaska Peninsula, we've got now wind is coming around, backing for the low that's moving into the Gulf. Sees winds 25 to 30 knots on the outside, 20 knots in the southern Chillicothe Strait area, seas 9 feet there. And then northwesterlies 25 knots off of Coal Bay, seas 8 feet. For Wednesday's marine forecast for the Aleutian Chain, southeasterlies looks like 25 to 35 knots, seas up to 14 feet on the Pacific side, up to 9 feet on the Bering Sea side. And then as you get further out of the peninsula, westerly gales, 35 knots and seas 13 feet. And then as we look at the Thursday's forecast, everybody's coming around to northwesterly winds, ranging from about 25 up to gale force 35 knots, seas around 11 feet or so on the Bering Sea side, and up to 17 feet with a southwest swell on the Pacific side. And then for the west coast, we've got northeasterlies, offshore flow, ranging 10 up to 25 knots. As you get down to the Pribilofs, easterly gales 35 knots, seas 9 feet. And then for Thursday's forecast, generally northerlies ranging 20 up to 30 knots, seas to 9 feet off the Pribilof Islands. And then looking at the Arctic coast, winds ranging from 10 all the way up to 20 knots or so, seas around 2 to 4 feet for most of the northerlies, and then down through the Bering Strait, seas up to 5 feet. And then for Thursday's marine forecast for the Arctic coast, coming around to northerlies to northeasterlies, winds ranging 10 to 20 knots on the north slope side, seas up to 4 feet, and then down through the Bering Strait, 20 to 25 knots, seas up to 5 feet as you get down to the Bering Strait. So looking at Wednesday's weather, we've got that developing system, 990 millibars, moving into the Bering Sea. Ridge of high pressure south of the Gulf up to 1026 millibars. And then for Thursday, a couple of lows have developed, 988 millibars off of Kodiak Island, setting up some gales on the east side of those lows, and then lots of showers and precipitation. And that's all we have for today. So keep a weather eye out for those marine forecasts, and stay safe out there.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.